Did Mace Windu attempt to erase all traces of Vaapad? Greetings again, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. Form 7 Vaapad is the most fascinating form out of all of the ways of lightsaber combat. More than any other style, much discussion surrounds it and its practitioner Mace Windu. Vaapad was meant to be the mender of the problems of Juyo brought to the Jedi Order, which was its tendency to lead to the dark side and aggression. But instead, Vaapad proved to be just as perilous, as it passes right underneath the shadow of the darkness, which for some Jedi is enough to cause them to fall outright. Mace Windu, being the creator of the form, was aware of its risks from the very beginning, yet he hadn't predicted the horrific outcome that the form would have on 3 specific members of the Jedi Order. Windu's colleagues, Sora Bulq, Windu's own Padawan, Depa Billaba, and even Quinlan Voss. After the fall of the Jedi Order, very few traces of information relating to Vaapad remain, and even less about how one actually uses it. It comes to our belief here at the archives that after Quinlan Voss, Mace Windu may have tried to destroy his own lightsaber form so that no one would ever attempt to wield it again. So today, join us for yet another discussion about Form 7 and what we think Windu may have done with it. Form 7 was traditionally called Juyo, the Ferocity form. It was an offensively focused form only to be used in saber-to-saber combat that has been seen in use as early as the Great Galactic War of the Old Republic era. Originally, Form 7 was used by the Jedi, and it was all about allowing the excitement of battle and the thrill of a prospective victory to guide one's hand in combat. Allowing emotions in their movements, the Juyo practitioners would maintain an outwardly calm appearance, but have an emotional pressure on the inside of them, verging on an explosion. However, this clearly violates the first tenet of the Jedi Code, and it became a restricted art to only be used with those from approval from the High Council. It was so popular amongst the Sith though, and even Darth Sidious considered it to be exclusively a Sith lightsaber form. But many years later, Windu would become fascinated with Form 7 after he discovered that there was a certain darkness within himself, one that he was struggling to control. He decided to take the idea of excitement in a battle and joy of victory from Juyo and create something different. Using these emotions, he would make himself receptive to the dark side of his opponent, becoming one half of a superconductive loop to reflect said darkness back onto the enemy, thereby turning their own strength against them. In this way, Mace Windu was using darkness to defeat itself, while he still remained a weapon of the Jedi. To do this though, required one constant, strong flow in the Force within their bodies. Windu went further than this, deciding to come up with a new system of movements for Vaapad. For this, he observed the creature after which the form was named. A Vaapad was a predatory creature that attacks its opponent with its many tentacles. Some Vaapad were said to have 7 tentacles, but others have been recorded as having up to 23. They would launch themselves at their opponents and whip their tentacles around so fast that it was impossible to tell exactly where they were. It was a common observation that one could make only to count the tentacles of a Vaapad once they were dead. Drawing upon this inspiration, Mace Windu took the seemingly unconnected and unpredictable movements of Juyo and connected them in such a way that when Mace Windu fought, he did so at such speed that it seems as though he was attacking with 7 lightsabers at once. When watching Mace Windu fight against Palpatine, Anakin described seeing Windu's lightsaber as, quote, an oblate sphere of purple fire which contained dozens of blades attacking from every angle. The most important thing to remember about Vaapad though is how it relates to Mace Windu. In his message to Ki-Adi-Mundi and Egan Kolar, which has now been recorded in the Great Jedi Holocron, Windu explains that Vaapad is very personal to him. He developed it as an answer to his own dark side, which he considered to be his ultimate weakness. He desired to channel this darkness into a weapon for the Jedi, thereby not only defeating, but insulting the dark side within himself. While he succeeded in doing this, he utterly failed in one other aspect: doing so and replicating it in other Jedi. Mace Windu would collaborate with one of the Jedi Order's Blade Masters and the Jedi Master Sora Bulq in order to perfect the form. Sora Bulq was a skilled practitioner in all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, being one of the few allowed to study Form 7. Sora Bulq had even trained the current Jedi Battle Master in Sindralig. And while Windu was the founder and developer of Form 7, the variant Vaapad, he used Sora Bulq's help with the creation of the sequences. Unfortunately though, the shadow of the dark side would fall into the darkness that consumed Vaapad, and it would claim its very first victim. Unbeknownst to Windu, Sora became fascinated with the dark side after working on Vaapad. He would switch his chosen lightsaber form to be exclusively Form 7 in combat, and began studying the dark side in secret to perfect the form. Sora Bulq had fallen, and still maintained a facade of being a noble Jedi Master. When Quinlan Vos had lost all of his memories of being a Jedi, it would be Sora Bulq who would help him regain it, and train him in lightsaber combat again. During these sessions, Sora Bulq would actually teach Quinlan some of the Vaapad maneuvers, but he didn't actually tell him how to use the form. Mace Windu would discover this truth after having a practice duel with Quinlan, and he was furious. During this sparring session, Windu encouraged Quinlan not to hold back and put everything he had into himself, as Windu wanted to test the Jedi Master. Quinlan took this as approval of using Vaapad, and attacked Windu with a Vaapad sequence, allowing his passion to explode within him as he lunged towards Windu. Shocked, Mace immediately blocked the strike before using the Force to throw Quinlan to the ground, ending the duel immediately. Mace then demanded to know where Quinlan learned that sequence and that move, to which Vos revealed that it had been Sora Bulq, but he knew nothing of Vaapad. Mace Windu sensed that Quinlan was telling the truth, but warned him to never use that ever again in a duel. Despite Quinlan professing that this was the only thing that Sora Bulq ever taught him, Mace Windu suspected that Quinlan Vos was lying, and that he knew far more about Vaapad than he was revealing, making him extremely dangerous. Windu would then go to confront Sora Bulq about the issue, but by this point in the Clone Wars, Sora had completely left the Jedi Order. He no longer believed in the Jedi, and had joined with Dooku. Windu would soon discover the Jedi Master's fall, and once the two engaged in a duel, Sora Bulq proclaimed that he was the master of Vaapad, and Mace Windu was the student. Windu, though, refuted this, and said that Vaapad had mastered him. Eventually, Windu would defeat Sora Bulq in lightsaber combat with relative ease, as Sora Bulq crawled back to Dooku, becoming one of the leaders of his dark acolytes. Later in the war, after Quinlan Vos was captured, it would be Sora Bulq who convinced Quinlan to use Vaapad, and Quinlan Vos would even use Vaapad for some time in service of the dark side, before later killing Sora Bulq in a climactic duel. While this was occurring, Vaapad would claim another Jedi, Mace Windu's own Padawan. Windu had taught Depa Billaba about the form, as she would practice it dutifully. Depa Billaba showed no signs of turning to the dark side though, and after she became a Jedi Master, Windu once observed Depa using Vaapad on a single mission to near perfection. He was so impressed with her blade work that he proclaimed that her blade work was even better than his. Unfortunately though, that power would be turned against Windu on Hurun Kal, when Depa would indeed fall to the dark side due to the planet's force-rich jungle and horrors of the Clone War. Depa nearly killed Windu in the duel. However, Mace Windu was still able to overcome Depa and talk her back to her senses. Unfortunately though, Depa was in such a state of despair that she attempted to kill herself before falling into a deep coma, and in Legends, she would never awake from it. The danger when using Vaapad was now clear. Harnessing the dark side becomes an almost unstoppable form. At first we believed that if one fueled Vaapad with the dark side, it essentially became Juya, but we were wrong, and it is much worse than that. Earlier, we've described how Vaapad does indeed have different blade movements than Juyo, movements inspired by the Vaapad creatures. While fighting General Grievous, Mace Windu observed how Grievous began to mimic Vaapad and Mace Windu's movements, creating a facsimile of the form. After seeing this, Windu immediately broke off contact with the General, not wanting Grievous to fully figure out how to use Vaapad against Jedi. Juyo's movements were indeed sharp and chaotic, appearing as though they are sloppy, unconnected strikes, when in reality, they are connected and unpredictable as a result. But Vaapad takes that idea to a new level with its insanely fast strikes that makes it seem as though one is wielding 7 lightsabers. This is given further power when the user redirects their opponent's dark side back against them. Imagine this being used to fuel someone's own dark side into an endless loop of suffering. Not only would it be terrifyingly effective, but it's a complete perversion of what Vaapad was meant to be. Windu knew that if such a thing were ever to be used against a Jedi, they would certainly be killed. He watched as 3 of the Jedi fell to the dark side of this form within their hand, and all 3 of them became a scourge. We believe that following this, the situation with Grievous attempted Mace Windu to try to destroy Vaapad. Once Depa was in a coma, Quinlan was turned back to the light, and Sora Bulq was dead, Mace Windu allowed mentions of the form and the principles behind it to be placed in the Great Holocron. However, beyond that, he refused to train anyone else in the form or discuss the specific details of it. It is never revealed the training regimen for learning the moves of Vaapad, like there were all of the other 7 lightsaber combat forms. Windu had all of that knowledge locked away in his own mind and decided to have Vaapad die with him. Knowledge of Vaapad would survive through Windu's death though, and prosper through Luke Skywalker's own Jedi Order into the Legacy era. However, very few practitioners of Vaapad existed after Windu. There are some speculations that Luke Skywalker knew and used Vaapad, but that is very shaky at best. And if he did, then it's likely that he understood and could employ the principle of reflecting the dark side, but didn't know the actual blade movements, as they had gone extinct with their creator, who purposefully never recorded them. And so, in this way, the perfect lightsaber form of Vaapad was erased upon Mace Windu's passing. And that is why Darksiders using Vaapad would have made the most dangerous lightsaber duelists in the entire galaxy, and would have turned countless more Jedi to the dark side. It is truly tragic that a form that is meant to heal the dangers of Form 7 ended up becoming more dangerous than even it was. A form meant to heal only destroyed. Windu was the only one able to master it because he was the one that had the heart behind it. His own heart. He said the form was personal because he created it out of a desire to keep his own dark side from consuming him, and instead of turning it into a weapon for the Jedi. Anyone who doesn't understand this fundamental heart can never master Vaapad without it mastering them. But what do you think, my friends? Do you think that Mace Windu should have given it more of a chance? Or do you think that Vaapad was just too dangerous to be used by the Clone Wars Jedi? Was Windu wise to never record it, and essentially ensure that the form would die with him? Please let us know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video on Vaapad, are there other aspects of lightsaber combat and of the forms that you would like to see us explore? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel and the archives today, and may the Force be with you